Prisons always got that scary vibe, right? They're supposed to be about law, order, and maybe fixing people up. But some spots, total nightmares. Behind those bars, it's all fights, dirty deals, and straight-up survival mode. Instead of rehab, folks get trauma that sticks for life. These places ain't about justice. They're about fear, pain, and making it out alive. Want to hear more crazy stories like this? Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and stick around for the wildest deep dives into the world's darkest corners. Nicknamed the Alcatraz of the Rockies, a DX Florence in Colorado is one of the most secure facilities in the world. It was designed to hold the most dangerous criminals, including terrorists, gang leaders, and individuals deemed too violent for other prisons. Inmates spend up to 23 hours a day in solitary confinement inside small concrete cells with minimal human interaction. While this system was created to prevent violence, it has inflicted severe psychological damage. Reports of depression, hallucinations, and suicide attempts are common as prolonged isolation often erodes the human mind. The prison allows very little opportunity for rehabilitation or education, keeping inmates trapped in a cycle of mental decline. Despite its heavy surveillance and advanced security measures, what makes ADX Florence dangerous is not riots or gang wars, but the silent suffering caused by extreme isolation. The danger here lies in how the human spirit is broken down, leaving scars far deeper than physical wounds. La Modelo in Bogotá is infamous for being one of the most violent prisons in Latin America. The prison has long been controlled by gangs rather than authorities, leading to frequent clashes and deadly confrontations. Overcrowding is a chronic issue, with thousands of inmates crammed into spaces far beyond capacity. The conditions inside are deplorable. Clean water, food, and healthcare are limited. Corruption runs deep, with guards often colluding with gang leaders, smuggling weapons and drugs into the facility. These dynamics make La Modelo more like a battleground than a correctional center. Inmates live under constant threat, never knowing when a fight will break out or when their lives might be in danger. The environment breeds violence and despair, making survival a daily challenge rather than a guarantee. Situated near the Kazakhstan border, Black Dolphin Prison is regarded as Russia's harshest maximum security facility. Housing serial killers, terrorists, and dangerous criminals, it enforces strict protocols from the moment inmates arrive. Prisoners are blindfolded when moved to prevent them from knowing the prison's layout. They live under constant surveillance, spending much of their time in locked cells with little contact with the outside world. Accounts of psychological torment and physical abuse are frequent, as guards use harsh methods to maintain discipline. Reports describe prisoners forced into stress positions and subjected to relentless checks that strip them of dignity. The prison offers no real rehabilitative programs, focusing solely on punishment. Life in Black Dolphin is not just about confinement. It is about surviving a regime designed to crush the human spirit through unyielding control and fear. Kamiti Prison in Kenya was designed for about 1,400 inmates, but regularly holds over 3,000. This severe overcrowding has created a breeding ground for disease, malnutrition, and violence. Hygiene is almost non-existent, and medical care is inadequate, leaving prisoners vulnerable to outbreaks and untreated illnesses. Guards are notorious for abusing inmates, while corruption within the system makes survival even harder, as those without money or influence often suffer the most. Inmates describe being extorted for basic necessities, and rehabilitation programs are almost non-existent. Kamiti has become symbolic of Kenya's larger prison crisis, where punishment overshadows reform and prisoners endure daily suffering in conditions that strip away dignity and hope. Nicknamed the Bangkok Hilton, Bangkwang is one of the most feared prisons in Southeast Asia. Known for its harsh treatment, the prison holds many on death row, subjecting them to long-term shackling and grueling routines. Overcrowding, poor sanitation, and inadequate medical care worsen conditions, often leaving inmates malnourished and mentally broken. Physical abuse and extreme discipline are part of everyday life. Prisoners often face long sentences under unbearable living standards, with many describing the experience as slow torture. The name Bangkok Hilton is ironic. There is nothing luxurious here, only endless suffering under relentless rules and brutal treatment. Guldani Prison became globally infamous in 2012 when shocking videos revealed guards torturing and sexually abusing inmates. The scandal exposed the deep-rooted corruption and brutality inside the Georgian prison system. Despite reforms promised after international outrage, the prison continues to struggle with overcrowding, violence, and poor sanitation. Inmates often face abuse at the hands of guards and rival prisoners, while rehabilitation efforts remain weak. The conditions in Guldani reveal a dangerous cycle of neglect and mistreatment, making it one of the most feared prisons in Europe. The psychological scars from abuse linger long after release, leaving many former inmates broken by the cruelty they endured inside. Located in California, Pelican Bay is infamous for its use of solitary confinement, particularly within the Security Housing Unit, SHU. Prisoners in the SHU spend up to 23 hours a day in windowless cells with little to no human contact. The prolonged isolation has been linked to severe psychological issues, including hallucinations, paranoia, and suicidal thoughts. Gang violence is another major issue, as prison gangs exert significant control despite the heavy restrictions. The prison's remote location further isolates inmates from families and lawyers, intensifying their suffering. Although reforms have been attempted, Pelican Bay remains a place where isolation and violence dominate, leaving many inmates in a constant state of psychological torment. USP Marion in Illinois became notorious in the 1980s when it replaced Alcatraz as the country's primary supermax prison. After the killing of 2 guards in 1983, the prison was placed on permanent lockdown, with extreme restrictions on movement and interaction. Inmates were confined for long periods in solitary conditions, which led to widespread psychological harm. Allegations of physical and verbal abuse by staff further darkened its reputation. This prison is remembered for one of the deadliest riots in U.S. history in 1980, when inmates took control of the facility, killing and torturing dozens. The riot exposed systemic failures, overcrowding, poor management, and neglect that continue to haunt the prison's legacy. Even after decades, the institution has struggled with violence, corruption, and inadequate conditions. Confrontations between inmates remain frequent, and safety is never guaranteed. For many, the penitentiary of New Mexico represents the dangers of neglecting prison reform, as its history is a chilling reminder of what happens when control is lost. Black Beach Prison is notorious for being one of the most abusive prisons in the world. Located in Equatorial Guinea, it is a place where torture, beatings, and arbitrary detentions are common. Inmates are often held without trial, deprived of medical care, and subjected to starvation and brutal punishment. The lack of oversight means guards act with impunity, creating an atmosphere of constant fear. Unsanitary conditions make disease rampant, while isolation and mistreatment break inmates mentally and physically. For many prisoners, Black Beach is not just a prison, it is a living nightmare where survival depends on enduring cruelty day after day. The world's most dangerous prisons reflect a haunting reality. Institutions built for justice often become centers of cruelty. Instead of rehabilitation, they foster violence, corruption, and despair. Extreme isolation in places like ADX, Florence destroys mental health, while overcrowding and abuse in La Modelo or Black Beach strip away dignity and hope. Thank you for watching the video on the world's most dangerous prisons. We hope you found it interesting and eye-opening. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you never miss an episode from this series. We look forward to having you with us next time. Stay curious, because the next video will take you even deeper into stories that matter. See you in the next video on Saturday.